So I just want to talk to you about a couple things. Do you know anything about Egypt, ancient Egypt? Did you know that black people were the ancient Egyptians? Ancient Egyptians were black. National Geographic has done documentaries and have gathered scientific data to indicate that the ancient Egyptians were in fact black people. In fact, National Geographic did a study. They call the result of the study, or at least the man that they found as a result of the study, they call him Scientific Adam. Um, they were able to trace the Y chromosome that exists in every living man today, whether he's black, white, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter. Every living man today has the same Y chromosome. And that Y chromosome, they were able to trace that Y chromosome all the way back 60,000 years back to Africa, to a black man that they have nicknamed Scientific Adam. You can look it up, you can Google it, you can YouTube it. And this is National Geographic, who is, of course, a legitimate resource. And I say that because I think it's important for black people and white people to recognize that there's really no difference between us. Racism is the result of a social construct. Race is a social construct. When you look at the difference genetically between white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever race you want to break these categories into, what we find is that there's very little difference between the races to justify categorizing them into into different race categories. And so a lot of the propaganda surrounding race is basically based on more social beliefs than they are actual biological facts. And I think it's important, especially for black people, to understand that because of the predicament that black people in America are in, we're in a state of crisis. Whether or not it's being acknowledged, largely, we are in fact in a state of crisis because black people in America, particularly black men, are being incarcerated at a very high rate. I think it's 1 out of every 13 black males are incarcerated versus 1 out of 200 some odd white males. 1 out of every 200 some odd white males are incarcerated. And when you look at the percentage of black people in America compared to the percentage of white people in America, this number is drastically disproportionate when you really look at just the simple math. I think it's important for black people to understand not only their history and to understand their roots, but to understand that being black is not the curse that white America has taught us that it is. In fact, I think that a part of what confronts black people today, particularly black men, is the idea that we are somehow inferior or that we have been disconnected from our roots. And it's something Malcolm X referred to as the knowledge of self. There's no way that you can have a tree separated from its roots without the tree eventually withering away and dying. And likewise, I think it's important for black people to take a spiritual or a mental pilgrimage back to our heritage, our roots, and to our ancestors, and to understand where we have come from in order to have a better knowledge of ourselves so that we can have a better knowledge of our God. Now, the reason I say that is based on not just a spiritual perspective, but also if you look at it from a psychological perspective. A child, when it is born, has no concept of self. A child, when it's first born, cannot differentiate between itself and everything else around it. As the brain matures and as the child begins to age, it starts to notice, oh, I have a hand, or this is my hand, or these are my feet.